Before we leave the public website and declare it done, I want to look at one last thing, which is to consider the kinds of transformations we might want to be applying to the text that we're outputting to the public. Let's take a look at some of the types of text encoding that we should be considering. Now, there are numerous transformations that we can apply to text. And if you just go onto the php.website, website, look under string functions, and you'll get a list of all of the kinds of transformations that we can do. We've already seen a few of them. Back when we were talking about sending get variables, we talked about URL encode and raw URL encode. And at the same time, when we were building our link, we talked about taking out HTML special characters. And that took things like the less than or greater than and made them so they wouldn't break our links anymore. And HTML will handle them appropriately. And then we were looking at doing inserts to SQL. We learned about doing add slashes and strip slashes, and we even learned the MySQL real escape command as well. Now, each of those has their special use, and we've talked about those. But more generally, when we're working with HTML and we're going to display HTML, there are a few others that come into play that are worth going over. The first is HTML entities. HTML entities works exactly like HTML special characters does. It takes out things which are not going to be friendly to our HTML and converts them into HTML entities. Usually it's ampersand with something and then a semicolon after it. And we saw that when we converted less than into ampersand LT semicolon. It'll do the same thing. But HTML special characters is limited. It only does the ampersand, single quotes, double quotes, and the less than and greater than that begin and end tags. HTML entities will take everything which has a compatible HTML entity and change it into it. So, for example, something like the copyright symbol or the trademark symbol, maybe the symbol for the British pound or the Japanese yen, the German sharp S or accented characters in a foreign language. If any of those have HTML entity equivalents, they will be converted with HTML entities. That's not true for HTML special characters. HTML special characters just ensures that it won't break your HTML. HTML entities goes a little bit further. As a general principle, anything that you output to the browser ought to pass through HTML entities, especially on the public side. That's even doubly true if the public at any point has an opportunity to put information into your database, because they might put some malicious code, HTML with some JavaScript in it or some SQL commands hidden in it, that would actually then be displayed by your browser when you viewed what they had input and execute. So, for example, let's say you have a form which asks people to nominate a website for Site of the Year. Then once you bring up those nominations and view them, if they put in something malicious, if you don't have HTML entities escaping all of those, you might accidentally execute some code in your browser while you're looking at it. So it's a good idea to use HTML entities a lot. Get used to it. But especially whenever we're interacting with the public. The next one that I want to look at is strip_tags. And that will strip the HTML tags out of text. You'll just completely remove them, not convert them to other entities, but actually remove them altogether. Now, you can make exceptions to what it takes out, so you can allow certain tags by saying, okay, remove everything except these 3 or 4 tags, and we'll see that in a minute. And last of all is the very bizarrely named NL number 2 BR. And what that stands for is new line to BR tag. So we're converting any new lines that were in the database. Those are the special character. Often it's \r or \n. We're going to convert any of those that we find into BR tags, which will give us nicely formatted text. So let's try a couple of those real quick. I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to just quickly visit what these can do for you. Here I am at index.php. I'm outputting information to the public. So here, for example, where I'm putting out the menu name is a great time to use HTML entities and just put that around it. So this will take any of those special characters that it finds in the menu name and convert them into proper HTML entities. Now, we could do the same thing down here for the content, HTML entities. Now, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do it differently this time. And there are a lot of different ways that you could do this, depending on what the data is that you're working with and what results you want to achieve. I'm going to go with just one example here that will allow me to demonstrate the other techniques that we talked about. And the first of those was strip tags. So that's going to strip out all of the HTML tags from my content. We can go ahead and try that and see how it works. let's go ahead and, in addition to our index page, I'm going to open up a new browser window here. And I'm just going to cut and paste all of this at the top. There we go. Into my new browser window. And instead of loading up index.php, let's load up staff.php. Manage website content. Let's go ahead and make history visible again. And we've got a new line here. And let's say this is and I'll put in just simple B tags around company, right? So that should make company bold. And I've already got a new line here. Let's put another one and another new line. So that'll give us something to look at. Update the page, successfully updated. We'll go back here and we'll just reload. Now we see the history. Now you'll see that the new lines were not respected, right? We'll look at that in a moment. You'll also notice, though, that the bold tags have been stripped out. And in fact, if we view the page source, we'll see that it's gone, the company history. It's just been completely removed. We obviously could take the strip tags back out and see the difference and see that the bold would be applied. We also can give exceptions to strip tags, and that would be the next item that we would include as a variable. And I'll just make a string, and we'll let it include the B tag now. And all we have to do is just a single B to let it know. We'll switch back over, reload the page, and now the bold tag is able to go through. So I'll go ahead and say, all right, let B is allowed and BR will be allowed. We'll make the P tags allowed and links. We'll go ahead and let people put in links. We'll do an A as well. So that'll let certain tags pass through while everything else gets stripped out. Now let's look at that new line issue. If we put in NL2BR and surround select page, so now it'll perform the NL2BR function and then strip out the tags. We'll come back over here, we'll reload it, and now my new lines are preserved. It changed them into BR tags, and we can just view the page source, and we'll actually see here's the BR tags that it dropped in. So that's all there is to these functions. Obviously, if we had changed it into BR tags and then stripped the BR tags out by not allowing it here, then we would have undone what we just did. But my goal here is not to show you all the possibilities of what you need to do to strip out this information. It's to let you know that you need to be conscious of it and that you have these functions at your disposal to use to make sure that you only output information that you feel good about, either to the public or information that they've brought in or someone has put into your database that you bring up to your screen for you to look at. So keep that in mind the entire time that you're developing. I think we spent enough time now on the managed content and the public portion. Let's go ahead and learn about user authentication and how we can password protect the staff area and have logins and passwords so that only our staff will be able to get in there. And we'll look at that in the next chapter.